Okay, yeah, welcome, colleagues. This is our weekly show from Asa Radio Worldwide, live here on Podbean Plus Pro Business Pro platform. This is a continuation of yesterday evening's talk, and I've just indicated that we are going to take it from the position of someone who has entered the conversation and is in conversation with another colleague in the studio, and there is a contestation of ideas, a debate and arguments. And we are arguing that that's a one powerful way of magnifying the message or a conversation on a platform like this. It's actually not wrong, acceptable, it's okay. However, let's as people who are in this train a program, let's then coach our two guests that are going to be engaging in a contestation of ideas from that angle. What will you advise them to do? And it's the notes I've shared with you that are coming from our unit in the conduct, and of course from our business academy course, public speaking. And let's see if we can handle it that way, and starting from um, backward to the front, because yesterday we tackled quite extensively, the first part of this note. But before I continue, let's remind the people that our shows are based on a principle called the idea. We are the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. So that's our program. And we are today on Unit 15, Conduct 10, holding debates and arguments. Let me allow your colleagues to greet the listeners and introduce yourself. And perhaps let us get your opening remark about the role that debates and arguments play in bringing the messages across. Anyone who's ready to start, please feel free.
I think Divesh should go first.
They normally say ladies first, Sylvia, but if you insist, I will go ahead. Yes, Divesh Motilal, a resident DJ of Kometsa. I'm an engineer by profession. And I also want to welcome the listeners to the 15th unit of the Digital Online Streaming Mastery Program. And yes, indeed, Sam, debate is important. It's something that's been embedded in society for probably as long as society has existed. And there's always different views, different sides of the coin that debate needs to look into. And each person who's representing one side of the coin or the other, it's very important for them to articulate the reasons why they support one view or the other. So it's important as well that when you are in a debate, you're able to share those views from the different sides of that coin with the audience so that they can all as well appreciate those values, those points that you share, and of course have their own view on which side of that coin and which view of the debate that they support, Sam.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much indeed. And we will talk about the kind of questions that people that are engaging each other are likely to bring forth and how one should prepare themselves for them, especially when it comes to complex questions. Yes, thank you so much, Divesh. Welcome. I see Rabula is on the public platform. Rabula, I've just sent you invite from the studio to come over this side. If you can just accept, you should be able to come over. Umpile is connected, but he's driving. Hopefully, will soon join. I don't know how the traffic in Paris this time of the night is like. I've never been to Paris.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here that the same. So
Welcome. How is
yes,
the traffic in that city of the world this time of the night?
I was coming from the university from attending, so that's why I'm coming back home. Yeah, but
Okay.
for me, I just wanted also to welcome the listeners on the session 15 also, and I would say that for me, the thing that I picked up is that if you are having, sorry about that.
It sounds like you are on campus.
Yes, yes. So that's the only thing I wanted to pick up is that some note I read the other day was saying if you are in the table and you are talking and everyone is agreeing, that means there's no movement that is going forward. But if you are in a table and you have a conflict, it means that people are thinking and people are expressing their different views, and there is some innovation and creativity that will happen. So from that view, I would like to welcome the listeners. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And that's the point we raised yesterday, that sometimes we are cultured not to differ. And we think that differing with somebody is a sense of disrespect, which I don't think that is the case. It all depends on how you differ. So that's the whole idea of this unit, that you can hold a different opinion. It is how you engage and convince the other person, but at the same time also listen to the other person's point of view, because by listening, you might be convinced otherwise and also develop a different perspective. Welcome, Rapula. Yes, Sylvia, over to you.
Thank you. And good evening to the listeners. Yes, as mentioned, my name is Sylvia Mamrare. I'm also a member of the Cometa team. I have a background in terms of the consulting in the human capital space, but now extending more in terms of getting more onto the coaching field. I have an experience of being in the corporate world for 32 years, which after I have basically just decided to take a different stream in terms of what one has been exposed to for all these years. But obviously, bringing in the knowledge which one has gathered through being exposed and having an opportunity to practically be involved in most of the different debates in different ways and forms, and having that platform to actually be able to learn as well. And I think on that note, I just need to also just say that one realizes that the more one is involved in the debates or the discussions, the more one continues to learn. So one never stops to learn on such debate, because every time, as Umpile had said, as long as there are different opinions or different perspective to a matter, it's an opportunity for basically learning, because listening and having an opportunity to hear and listening with an intent to understand, rather than listening with an intent to respond, because there's very varying views in terms of how one approaches such a debate or a talk that is on the table. And yes, and I just need to also welcome all the listeners and to this version on the session 15. I did miss yesterday's session, and I think that's why I took a backseat, Divesh, when I requested that you should basically go first. But I do believe that, it's very much helpful, diversion. Thanks for turning the world topsy-turvy, that the men should start instead of ladies to go first. It's very nice, actually, when someone is bringing a different perspective, and thank you for that. Yeah, and I think I am here and very excited to be on the platform today to actually share and learn as well in the discussions that are going to be taking place. And I do hope that one adds value on it as well. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. You'll be happy to know that the podcast of last night's conversation is already out. So if you haven't seen it, you can get it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or straight on Podbean, or I can share it with you at the end of the session.
Thank you.
And it's a beautiful podcast. We were talking about it, that it came out quite so natural, which I think will link into our conversation today. Daderabula, welcome, my brother. Have you recovered from you had a sore throat yesterday and you were losing your voice? I know you are connected. I'm not quite sure if you can hear us. Am I the only one who sees Rabula?
No, we can actually see him. I think it indicates that he has connected and that he's live. He's joined the
Okay.
room here.
All right. Anyway, we'll give him the opportunity when he's able to. Yeah, let me cheer you up for being here. Welcome. Cool. I hope that makes you be fully present, and we have had you. Yeah, I like on the notes I shared with you. I want to start with the almost right at the end. So you are about to go into a session, and you get a visit from your boss, and he's asking you, "Are you ready?" Checking if you are ready. I know I provided answers there, but I'm gonna ask you to pretend that you don't have the answers and give me your own answers, not the one I've given you. The first one, let me start with Umpile. Are you there, Umpile? Okay, Umpile is not there, or he's not hearing us, or he's having challenges. Let me start with you, Divesh, and ask you the first question as your boss. I'm concerned that you're about to go into a debate, and I'm not quite sure if you are ready. So my first remark to you is, I know you will do a great job on this debate. Am I right or wrong?
Sorry, Sam, I didn't get full thing. I got some notification that came in. Can you repeat that, please?
I say that I provided you section of in your at your office, and I say, I know you will do a great job on this debate. What will be your response?
Well, the affirmation, firstly, that I've received from the boss, that goes a long way. She's actually boosted my morale. So that's one of the aspects that is important with regards to the type of program that we as Comets are providing. So that
Mm.
affirmation itself actually helped me already. But my response to him would be that yes, I have prepared very well. I've looked at, what would the potential questions be that come up in the debate so that I can have planned responses towards those questions that come up. And of course, I would also say that I've prepared myself mentally, which is also very important, to be able to manage and control my emotions as I would enter a space which potentially could be hostile. I should be able to remain calm and be able to respond appropriately with fact and stick to my points and make sure that my messages are clearly articulated and the audience actually can listen in on what I have to actually say with them, Sam.
Mm. Mm. Indeed. So basically, that first statement is saying to us that don't always be know-it-all. It's always good to have somebody that is important in your life coming in and affirming you. And I think you can ask for affirmation if you don't get it, because people may not realize how important they are to you before a very challenging assignment. In this case, one of those challenging assignments is public speaking or taking part in a contestation. If I may read you this results from a survey by Sunday Times of London, I shared with you that as well. According to the survey by the Sunday Times of London, 41% of people list public speaking as their biggest fear. Forget small spaces, darkness, and spiders. Standing before a crowd and talking is far more terrifying for most people. However, mastering this fear and getting comfortable speaking in public can be a great ego booster, not to mention a huge benefit to your career. So basically what is said there is you are not alone when you are terrified by the challenge of having to go onto a public forum and engage in a contestation of ideas. Sylvia, yesterday we spoke about us growing up as young people in the school, the high schools. A subject called debate was a very, very interesting subject, and we always wanted to be the best debaters. You'll be given a topic, and for the whole month, you must research the topic, prepare for it, and even mobilize people that on the day of the debate are going to be supporting you, especially if it's happening in the same school. But if you're meeting other schools, it's a given that your own school is going to support you. So let me say to you, Sylvia, this is a crucial debate. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think just on the normal response, any approach in terms of having to go onto a public arena does bring one some butterflies that basically meets you just before you could even get in there. And yes, I might have prepared myself in terms of the research that one would have gone through in terms of the topic that one has to go through and discuss. But however, what brings the butterflies is to the fact that will I be able to articulate what I have planned to speak and to bring up to the public that I will be addressing? Will I remember what I need to remember? So yes, one of the areas that I will go through is obviously that in the planning process, I would jot down what I will call like the key points that I would speak to, because when I go through the research, I obviously go into the detail and writing as much information and new details that I am learning. But however, by the time that I have to go onto the stage and to speak and to address and to be in the debate, I need to be able to have planned, just to have a bit of what one will call a prepared list of what I will be talking about. So the cue points on the list where I would have written, I will try as well to put them in a certain sequence, knowing where I want to start, how I'm going to introduce the topic, or probably obviously starting by introducing myself and the topic and how I see and relate into that particular topic. And then it will be the cues that are now taking me to what exactly are my views on that particular topic, and go into the details of where my challenges or where the advantages or the learning points onto the topic is, and then go to the closure on what I have learned, how do I intend applying it in whatever experience that I will have to go through. So the preparation is what will give me the confidence that I can face the audience. However, I still have a challenge if I still don't know the audience as such. Am I addressing the audience that are looking forward to be taught or to learn from me, or am I addressing the audience that are basically here to engage because they also more au fait with the topic and with the matter that is on the table for discussion? Because then that actually brings you a different perspective on how the confidence that you have in entering that space. As you talk about,
Beautiful. Well said. Well said. Well said. Of course, the question, are you ready? It's very broad. And thank you so much for elaborating. Because remember, the boss is not comfortable, and that's why he's coming to ask, you are about to enter a very crucial debate, and he's not saying I'm nervous, but he's saying, "Are you ready?" And actually, you have just actually explained it. The short statement we put here is that I've spent a lot of time preparing. I think it will go well. But you have actually now given us that assurance that you have done your homework. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. We're still struggling to get all of Rabula. He says he's facing a connection challenges. I'm not sure if Umpile hears as well, because I wanted also to get his perspective on this little exercise of a visit to your office by the boss before you enter the studio or the platform. Are you there, Umpile? Okay. Let's continue with Divesh. Divesh, you might run into some strong opposition in this debate. Thank you for receiving my earlier affirmation. In fact, I'm a bit concerned that you may run into a very strong opposition in this debate.
Well, Sam, my response to that would be that, as I had earlier indicated, identifying key questions, even though there's strong opposition, preparation is key, and having an assessment in terms of what are the needs that we would be looking at holistically in this debate. Obviously, we'd know the topic. We'd want to know, as we mentioned yesterday, who the audience is going to be. We align our preparation towards that, and as an expert, obviously being invited to a show uh, to debate a specific topic, you would have some level of confidence, even though there's going to be strong opposition. uh, Preparation would entail things like creation of a basic outline, and also Sylvia alluded to that, and also the situation, the analysis thereof, as the boss is outlining, that there'll be strong opposition. we need to also analyze the opposition, get that viewpoint that the boss has, and see what is the strengths that the opposition would be bringing, and prepare ourselves in terms of our own strengths that could counter those strengths. Just as well, to that point that you raised in terms of public speaking being 41% of people fearing it as their biggest fear. It's so interesting that I've seen that online people seem to find some level of braveness. And as you rightfully said, it's strange that when you having face to face, that fear creeps in. I've come across many people who have lots of um, I can say, uh, bravery when they are behind a phone or behind a laptop. But in the new world, if you come into the public domain, yes, indeed, there's this huge fear that comes across, Sam. That fear, though, is something that we really must be able to channel into boosting our comfort levels and make it as a huge benefit towards the debate, Sam.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that question, actually, if you read behind it, is the boss said, you might be, don't underestimate the opponent. And you've rightfully answered and say, it's important also to study the opponent. In this case, if we may use that, although we know it's not you taking the example of debate at schools, we will always be measuring ourselves against the people that we are going to be entering the ring with. So the idea here was to say, just don't focus on yourself and how good you feel. Be aware of what will come from the other side. And the short answer we've given here, I've thought about the objections people might have, and I have prepared responses, and which is exactly what you demonstrated. But the underlying point here is the question that the boss is bringing is that don't just focus on your feel good and on what you know yourself for. Also focus on what could be the surprises coming from the other person. If it was in a conversation with colleagues, you're probably not contesting in per se, but this will be the same as, did you hear very well the angle from which your colleague is coming? Right? Because sometimes we are inclined to push our own idea, our own perspective, and we stop listening to understand what the other person's point of view is. So that is basically what I think is hidden behind this question. And then the point of emphasis come with the last question. Do you think you can handle this debate? You think you've answered the person. Do you, at the last, said, do you think you can handle this debate? What is hidden behind that question?
Yeah, it's basically probably to be saying, I do have a bit of some doubts. Give me the confidence and kind of show me, because at this moment, from my point of view, I don't necessarily think you are if efficiently equipped to be able to deal with this debate. And maybe a point of view could be, as your boss, I haven't seen you doing it before, or you have never come to show it to me first and, run it with me first. And that
Yeah,
I am, I'm actually having this particular doubt.
yeah.
And I
You
would
got it.
say,
You got it there, Sylvia. He's actually inviting you to demonstrate to him that you really ready.
mm-hmm.
Or her. Sorry, I use only masculine.
Yeah.
Be a woman boss.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
I wanted to just allude on the previous question of the opposition, Coach Sima,
Yeah.
if you allow me. Um, you know, one of the aspects that one also, and I think you've said it quite well when you said that don't underestimate the opposition, because we need to put into our mind to the fact that the opposition is equally coming to the table, so they
Yeah.
equally prepared as well, from their side, and they coming to you also with points which are also researched, and whatever that they will be putting on the table is how they see, it's their point of view. And I think you've said it quite well to say, don't underestimate them. Try to listen, to understand what they are saying, because it's better to hear them out and accept that what they see on their side is the viewpoints, and they are allowed and they are having a platform as well to air their viewpoints, and they are airing them in not agreeing with the viewpoints that you are having. It's like when we say, when you are uh, sitting and engaging with someone, a discussion, and is on the other side of the table, and you raise your hand, and you ask the person, what do you see? Obviously, he is seeing the front of your hand, and he will explain and talk more of what he is seeing, and
Yeah.
you are seeing the back of your hand, and you are also seeing something different, and you're trying to convince each other that we should be seeing the same thing. So the issue of listening very carefully and understanding where the opposition is coming from, it's also very important. So the point that I mentioned earlier on, that when the opposition is speaking, listen with an intent to first understand, and so that you could have an opportunity that what you heard, you are now able to respond on that. So you first understand what it said, and then you prepare yourself to respond. But if you could just listen with an intention to respond from the beginning, you might hit it a hard rock, because you might have not understood what the opposition has been saying as well. So that's
Indeed.
what I see. Yeah.
Am I right to say that this boss is a very good mentor?
Very much so. To me, he is, because although he is trying to guide you, he is guiding you in a way of challenging you. He is guiding you in the way of opening your eyes, rather than just to spoon feed you, as in a lecture format or a coaching.
Yeah.
He's approaching more of a coaching format to say, I'm here just to assist you to achieve
Yeah.
yeah, but not really to tell you how to do it.
Indeed. So what do you do then if you don't have a caring boss like this one, and you are going into this controversy, this challenging debate, or any other assignment? No boss visits you a day before. Dinesh, what do you do? What do you do?
Well, unfortunately, I think the situation where you won't have a boss like that is something that actually happens more often than not. I think self-development, being a person inculcating a nature of always educating yourself, always pushing yourself towards having, more aspirations, getting support from a type of mentor or coach can also assist you. Joining programs such as the ones that Cometsa offers in terms of self fulfillment or development, or even in terms of specific things such as that of public speaking. Those are all opportunities that a person can also attach themselves to, so that they could improve what they
Mm,
have to offer and how they deal with situations. And of course there's other
mm,
organizations as well, which offer that kind of development and support.
Mm. And I would think the best practice is here in the absence of a boss, you should have a mentor, or you should have somebody, a peer of yours that you can talk to the day before. Because the reality is that you probably, if you haven't been affirmed like this boss has affirmed the subordinate, the night before you might not sleep. And then you are not going to be ready the following day when you enter the space. So I think it's incumbent upon us, when we don't have anybody affirming us, to go and fetch for affirmation, or share your feelings prior to this with somebody else that you trust, your mentor or your peer mentor or your coach or a confidant of yours. Because the reality is that we are human beings. It doesn't matter how half-hard you have prepared. Until you hear it from somebody else saying, I think you are ready, you are not going to be stopping to judge yourself.
Indeed, Sam. And what comes to mind for me, especially at this point, is that the show that we recently did in terms of affirmations, mechanisms which people could use in their lives, not only on digital online streaming opportunities, but also in public speaking opportunities, their careers, their relationships, just to feel good about themselves. That is really skills that one can acquire through programs like the ones that Kometso offers.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, let's move to the next point now, which is more physically to do with our bodies, which I always wish I had such awareness earlier in my life. But these days now that I'm aware, I do that. And that's physical relaxation techniques before you go into such a stressful kind of assignment. We tend, and you let me know if you agree with me or not, we tend to ignore our bodies days and hours before a very tense mental type of an assignment. And in this course, we are saying that now that you have prepared, it's also very important to relax your body uh, hours or even a day before such even if you are going to host a show. And how you can do that, physically, they recommend that hour before or a couple of hours before, you can do what we call deep breathing, where you remove that stress, the tension, by just taking some deep breaths. And I'm told that breathing is such vital thing to learn, to practice, to a point where people are saying that actually breathing well can save you from having a heart attack. And it has been proven that many of us, we breathe autonomously. We don't really think about our breathing. We spend the whole day without even recognizing that we are breathing and whether we are breathing well or not, because we are not trained to do that. And yet that is a physical exercise that, interesting enough, can contribute to how you show up in a debate or in a conversation. And they share with us, they say, for instance, you can just sit up straight, cross your legs, or put your feet flat on the ground. Take a long, deep breath through your nose and pretend that you're breathing into your abdomen and hold it there and allow your abdomen to expand and exhale. You see and interesting enough, when you do that exercise, actually only then you realize that I've been straight. Who has actually developed that consciousness of breathing deeply before a tense conversation with a boss or somebody that you respect or you admire? Sylvia, as a trainer, I'm sure you have had to do such.
Yes, it is basically what one calls as a requirement. If I have to put it, it's like a prerequisite of one entering a talk. Immediately when you talk about, let's talk about the body. The first thing that came into me was exactly the deep breathing. take a deep breath, as they will always say. And interestingly, deep breathing, it's I think it's a mechanism that is encouraged almost in many different aspects. You know, I do a bit of preaching at church. You know, you could be sitting there following the liturgy, knowing when the time of the sermon is coming. But even at that moment, when that moment is there that you must now get up and get up to the altar and have to turn and face the congregation. Yes, a minute you turn and face them, the first thing that we are also advised to do is take a deep breath before you could start to talk. Whether you're going to start by praying or you're going to start by immediately going or reading the text or doing whatever, but it is always advised that first take a deep breath. And this is now in an environment of you having to preach, which is something totally different than when you are in a debate with other people. But deep breath is also advised. You sing in the choir. You could hear when we stand up, you know, and the choir master is about to guide you to start singing. He will always say, before I give you a tune, or after I have given you a tune, before you could start singing or opening your mouth, take a deep breath. You know, so
Yeah.
deep breathing is an exercise that is encouraged in very many occasions, and it is a very effective way of actually doing the things first. Yeah.
Yeah. They say also when somebody has said something that really irritates you and makes you so angry, before you can reply, take just deep breath.
Deep breath, yes. It is a solution to very different occasions.
Yeah, but it's a very good practice. In meditation, it's also quite helpful because, as I said, I've just done it now. Only then, after doing it, I realized that I'm actually heavy, you know, because I've been to a gym today and my muscles are still very more tense. And then you also discover that you are not seated well because you tend to now establish the sore spots on your body. So it's a very good practice, and I hope we keep that in the back of our mind that it's not only our intelligence that is going to make us succeed, also how our body situation state is. Let me welcome Ndadera Mutla. I can see him on the public platform, the Mago. And I think Rabula has rejoined us. Are you able to hear us now, Rabula? You have been having a challenge. Okay, still a challenge. And then the next kind of relaxation is called progressive relaxation. Here you are now breathing the air. Now you tense a group of muscles so that they are tightly contracted as possible. And then you hold them tight for a while, and then you relax the muscle as you normally would do. Then consciously relax your muscles further so that you are as relaxed as you can. And I'm told that the function of that exercise is that you almost like accelerate the blood flow in your system. And remember, the blood transport oxygen into our brain. So when you do that, you oxygenate your brain. And when the brain is oxygenated, it means it's been fed with its food. Then it can do its function of thinking on the spot. Interesting, isn't it? Right? So the physical is as important as the mental. And unfortunately, because we've got so many autonomous systems in our body, we never actually think about breathing. We never think about our digestive system, the blood circulation system. We never wonder whether the oxygen is enough where we are or not. But our autonomous system is able to serve us. But when you consciously assist it, just before you can start the serious debate, you've been in a meeting for the whole morning in the boardroom, you take a walk outside and stretch your legs and suck a bit of oxygen and water and come back. All of a sudden, you perform at your best. Divesh, what's your view on these few advices that are in our manual?
Well, in terms of the breathing, Sam, I fully agree with that. Sometimes, and I think most of the times, we actually just leaving our system to automatically do the bare minimum. And if we look at an athlete, for example, they are more focused in their breathing, and their whole body gets more activated. The cells get the maximum amount of the resources it needs. So, especially in a tense situation, in a situation where you want to be performing at your peak, when you enter a situation where there might be some unknowns, you may be a bit nervous, you may be very well prepared, but that adrenaline is pumping. So definitely to make sure that that adrenaline is supported by correct breathing can only help the situation.
Mhm. Indeed. Yeah. And as Sylvia was saying, this applies in so many occasions. And I think we're talking conversation, but it's actually in public speaking, it's if you don't apply these techniques, you could literally experience problem right in front of people because nervousness is normal. So yeah, great stuff. Dr. Abula, you have been struggling. It looks like you are back with us.
Sam, can you hear me now?
Very well.
Can you hear me now?
Very well, and Dr. Abula, we can hear you.
Yeah, hopefully my voice is better than yesterday, although my nose are blocked at this moment.
Yeah, now you
My, my,
sound okay.
yeah, my contribution on this subject matter is you mentioned of oxygen in the system. The Chinese methodology of keeping you as
Yeah, we have lost you now. Oh, you enticed us and now you disappeared. Are you there? The connection is a bit poor. Can you hear us now?
Now we lost him.
Wow, I was just waiting to hear that wisdom from the Chinese methodology.
We were already preparing our listenings. Yes, we were listening to what this.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll give. I hope you get to share that with us. It's always good to learn this new theories and methodologies from other sources. Yeah, so I think this is very powerful because we we are very simplistic about this thing because we think it's only athletes, as Divesh was saying, people who physically do some work that have to listen to our body and do certain exercises. Actually, even them, they do a lot of physical stuff, but they think that we should be mastering. They also master like mental exercises before they go on a sprint. You know, we think we only need mental stuff, intelligence to really perform in a conversation, in a boardroom or in a conference. But we need physical stuff as well. But they do also don't only need physical. They must also do meditation, mindfulness exercises to tune their mind well. And if you don't know these techniques because you think you don't need them, you are at a disadvantage. So basically, that's what we are trying to bring here. That our system is integral. It's not just one side of our system that we must take care of. Let's now assume you are in the middle of the conversation, and then you get what they call an uppercut. You know the uppercut in boxing when you get a surprise uppercut from the south to the north. It's like you are caught by surprise. Now they're sharing with us here that this is how you should deal with complex questions. And let's talk to this because this is Divesh, if we go back to our favorite unconscious competency model. These are some of the things that when you have learned them and answered them, you just apply them without knowing. And that is listen. That's the first step. When you are in that debate, and some points are coming up and you don't want to be caught unaware, the first thing you must have a discipline in is to listen. Now we can talk about listening emotionally and actively, but the key thing is here, listen to understand and hear the message. That's the first thing. That discipline is important. If you haven't heard and understood, rather than challenging back, ask a person to repeat their point. Then the next thing, quickly analyze. And I don't know how we can, and I think we can talk about this. I don't know, analyzing means taking that message into little bits and bytes and try to make sure that you don't miss the message. However you do it in that short space of time, sometimes you may allow a bit of a silence, take a deep breath, and then try to understand or even repeat what the person has just said and make sure that you have really understood the little components of what they said. And then I like the third one, which says that before you can even answer, affirm that person's point. Can you imagine in a debate somebody thinking that they give you an uppercut and then they come with something and they expect you to reply back and then you say, did I hear you arguing from this angle? You're dismantling them immediately there and there because you don't come aggressively. You affirm what they've just challenged you with and say, I respect the point you are raising. Did I hear you very well saying this is your point of view? And then there and there, you might find that actually you didn't understand them. It's not what they intended, or they didn't even hear themselves. And then they can reformulate. And then only then step 4 come, and that is answer. They say those are the 4 points you need to master when dealing with complex questions. And I'm sure many of us have been subjected to questions that sometimes they are complex because we are hearing them for the first time, or perhaps they use the jargon that we don't understand, or perspective or context that we are not familiar with, or you just totally don't have an answer. Let me hear you, colleagues. What is your approach to complex questions in the middle of a debate? And I'm sure, Sylvia, you will recall in the 90s, we used to have this conferencing. They will invite you because you work for this company and you are the head of this department, therefore you are subject matter expert. And then when you arrive in there, you find that there are other colleagues of yours who are even more knowledgeable than you. You know that Q&A is going to be hot.
Mm, mm. Or they even you are there specifically to represent a certain aspect of the business, and just
Yes.
because you come from a bigger organization, they ask you something totally outside your area of expertise, and
Yeah.
you basically haven't been prepared for it. But I agree with the approach in terms of what you just said, that in most cases what assists, and it has worked, where you really ask and ask questions, or ask the person to repeat what they have said, because as you say, did I hear you well that you said this and this and that? When you say it, you might not necessarily use the words that they have used. So the person on the other side is more inclined to want to explain that that's not what I said. And during that explanation, it then affords you an opportunity, because he then either starts explaining it using different ways, which then gives you an idea of then understanding better what exactly was said before. Because if you just allow and want to answer by only them having spoken once, and you then don't affirm or ask what is being said, you are losing an opportunity for a further elaboration that could end up leading you to a better understanding, or the person could then use different ways, and the different way that he used from the one that they used before are elaborating even much further, and it gives you time to understand better. That I find to be like the first point. The second point is that if you ask the question or you ask someone to repeat, it also gives you time to also think through, because as they are repeating, you then get an opportunity to can then get some more thoughts in your mind, to then be able to know how you're going to be answering on that. So it gives you a time to go to your deeper brain to go search for the responses, or to go search for more knowledge and more wisdom, while at that time you're doing it consciously while the person is repeating. You might have heard well what he said before, but just asking them to repeat, it gives you that opportunity to then go back in your brain and your time to can think it even further on that. And it's basically a technique that assists when you are in a situation where a difficult question is asked, to you.
Yeah. I always I say that it's so everything we are confronted with is it's always a helpful to have a methodology or a technique. And yes, I agree with you, Sylvia, that it is a technique and you can apply it to a great benefit, because you buy time while you are still trying to access the response towards that point. If you have a tendency of just they raise something, you attack. They raise something, you attack. You are treading on a very steep, slippery slope, because you are not always going to have the right answers immediately. So delaying is very, very helpful, because as they repeat themselves, you may just really be able to access your files in your subconscious mind, and then get a very intelligent question, you know? Yeah. So yeah, beautiful. I like these techniques because we are not superhuman beings. We and we are not always going to be in a top form to be able to respond immediately. But if you have these techniques, they are also used to bring our best out. Then there are 3 points here that I want us to handle them all at once. The first one is, in a conversation, tight as it might be, it's very helpful to always have your sources lined up. And if you are a subject matter expert and you are in touch with trends, it's not difficult to access the sources. You might not necessarily always be able to quote the sources, but to mention the source of your argument is very professional and is very high respected. The second point is to come up with some citations, quotations. I don't know how you define citations. I see them as quotations, references. And then thirdly, you need to always be mindful of your credibility. You know, they are saying that it is essential to be sure of your facts. And that's why Sylvia, Divesh, and the others, that's why you always, with the conference organizers are very good. They always want to make sure that if they give you a topic, it's a topic that comes out of your area of specialization, because they know that the credibility is already guaranteed. And if indeed that's your area of specialization, the citations and the quotation of sources that you are going to be sharing is going to be highly valued. And we're thinking that, remembering that people want to walk away from your debate with sources of references that you will have shared. Any comments there, Divesh? Remarks, reflections on that point? On those points, I would say.
Yes, Sam, I do agree with those points, but one thing which is more in line with the credibility and a point you raised earlier was pertaining to sometimes you just don't have the answer. And I think instead of using the technique of trying to buy time, you just have to face it that sometimes you just don't have a proper response. But do
Yeah.
it in a form that you don't lose credibility. If it's certain figures that you need to actually get access to, which you didn't have at the time, then mention, listen, I don't have the figures for that response at this point in time, but we can maybe look at that, at another time, or I can respond or forward you that information as soon as I get it. It's another mechanism as well. Rather than buying the time and still not being able to come up with a response, there is situations where you would be able to, as the expert matter or subject matter expert, be able to make a call to say, okay, on that specific point, I cannot give you a response at this point in time, Sam.
Mm. Mm. Right. Sylvia, do you have points there to make?
Yes, I think I and I agree with Divesh in terms of ensuring that you don't damage the repto, the importance of what you would have said. But I wanted to talk more to the point where you mentioned that have your sources and where possible, just to come up with some quotations and the citations, because they do bring attention of the audience, or they bring attention to those that they respect actually the points that the citations and the quotations. Sometimes they just explain in a different way what one is talking about. And especially when you say, even though you might not necessarily quote all of them, but at least just to have one or two that actually goes in there. I remember there was a time where one had to go and give a talk to when I used to travel to different countries within the continent. Of course, some of the countries are more Anglophone, some are more Francophone. So the language barrier would have been a bit of an issue. So I used to say to them, when we're trying to reach each other between an Anglophone and a Francophone individuals, and I tend to say to them, there's this say that goes that people who understand that they don't understand each other, they tend to understand each other better than the people who don't, who understands that they do, who think that they do understand each other. So when you more emphasize it, is that your approach to the next person is already to say, I have to work hard because me and this person, we are more likely not to go and understand each other. Therefore, I'm going to put my mind on the subconscious of trying as much as possible to understand. He's also doing the same thing on the other side. And you end up finding yourself much easier than the people who assume that they will understand each other anyway. And that becomes a wrong one. So, it's again an affirmation, as Davesh was saying earlier on, that, people who don't understand that they don't understand each other, they understand each other. People who understands that they don't understand each other, they understand each other better than those who understand.
Because they will make an effort to
They will
get
make
to.
an effort. That's true. That's true. They will
Is
make
that
that.
speaking? Is that speaking to attitude, Sylvia?
Yes, yes, yes. It does. It does. It does.
Wonderful. I'm looking at time. We have a few minutes left. I want to rush through 3 points again that we can use to end our conversation. The first one is about outlining the situation, and which is basically normally we call giving a context to the debate. This now speaks to whoever is going to be in the debate and having to give the opening remarks. It could also be you as an anchor or the host having to set the scene. So I liken outlining the situation to setting the scene or giving the perspective or context to the debate. Thirdly, it's about organizing the debate itself And then lastly, making the organization of it very easy, where you look at the opening, the body, and then review before closing. Maybe we can start with that. I know we are going backward from the end forward. I mean, coming forward, because I just don't want us to repeat what we've said yesterday. So, making the organization easy. Okay, let me start with the outlining the situation. The advice that comes from this unit 15 conduct 10 says that you need to provide only the background information needed to understand the situation. And I think most of us, we have so much knowledge to share. But here they are saying that sometimes we just need to give enough a background for people to understand the situation, to avoid the situation where in many cases your audience may already know the background. Of course, if you have done your research, you probably will know whether they know it or not. But they are saying that covering old ground will lead to a remark, here we go again. I'm sure you remember during employment era, BE era, when we go to these conferences, you will hear the same points that you have heard before because everybody was following the act, right? And then people say, oh my God, here we are. So be careful of such situations. Thirdly, and then the next one is that of organizing the debate. Keeping your audience in mind is the key to a well-organized debate. And I think, again, this speaks to us as a host, as conveners of this event, but also it speaks to people that might be in a debate and they're going to have to plan. It says there here, start with something that will capture their attention and give them, the audience, a clear idea of your topic. Organize your debate in a way that will be easy for your audience to understand. Plan to review your main points briefly and then wrap things up positively, perhaps giving your audience a call to action. You can see that is towards closing your debate. And then the essential theme to remember is that you are giving your debate to benefit your audience. That means you need to organize it in a way that will make sense to them. And here is what they're suggesting you do, making the organization easy. The 4 stages of organizing your debate. The first one is opening. It's almost just emphasizing that you start on a light note and keep the audience at ease. If the discussion starts with something that does not work, the audience will start to question your ability. Thirdly, when you get in the body, of course, that is a given. There you will be following the facts and the themes that are raised. And then they say, before closing, please review. Chances are that some of the audience did not get the few key points you want them to take away from the debate. Review these critical points for those turned off the first time you made them. And then, of course, in closing, restate the main points of your debate. So that's almost like you don't jump out of the debate and say goodbye. There's a system that you need to build into your checking out. And that will make you wow the audience and walk away from debate, even though you might have not been to the level of contestant. But if you close in that manner, you leave them something that they will remember the debate through. Those are my almost closing remarks. I will want you to reflect on those and also check out in terms of what do we think we confirmed, your takeaways. Yeah, quite a mouthful, but the notes have been shared with you from the trainer point of view. And of course, the podcast will also be there to revisit. Who wants to go first and check out as well? The colleagues on the line, you can please also check out in the chat box. We're seeing you. We have, I think we had Divesh's friend. What's the name again? Tutu. And Marco as well. Marco is Ndatera Mutla. And Rapula, please, you can also check out. Over to you, colleagues, and then we close the show.
Well, from my side, Sam, what we've definitely provided is the do's and don'ts, the recipes that you can use towards preparation for a show which might have contestation from the viewpoint of a guest as well as the viewpoint of a host or a co-host. But my takeaway for tonight is that apart from the vast amount of preparation that needs to go into yourself, the dealing with the complex questions aspect, and of course this is points which you could use in other aspects of your life as well, is that it's very important to listen, then to breathe, you analyze, and I would say you breathe again, you affirm yourself, you affirm the situation, the opponent if need be, and then you would answer. So that's for me is the aspect that I would take away from tonight. Thank
Beautiful. Thank you, Divesh.
And I think you, Divesh said it very well. What comes to me in a summary of it is, I think the importance in terms of that the preparation, as we had said, and also that rest that you said, that your mind should be prepared for, so that when you go in the day, you are fresh to can actually be ready to engage, and that research to get more information on the topic, just so that you are able to have an upper hand in terms of the information. But again, the most important one that to me, I realized that it's more of a learning lesson, that I never understood it, or I have been probably taking it for granted, is the issue of listening with an intent to first understand, rather than to try and listen with an intent to want to respond. It's a very good technique, as it's been said, that first understand, and once you have listened to understand, you are then can be able to respond much more appropriately. And the other important fact as well is understand that the opposition has also equally prepared. That when you come, so don't underestimate the opposition when it comes to the debate that is on the table. And the truth is that ask the questions again, and let the person repeat, because it will then also give you an opportunity to can prepare in your subconscious mind, by time where you need to think through of the matter. And I think Divesh also added it quite importantly there, to be saying, obviously you will be knowing when the question is asked that this is totally out of your breath. And in that situation also, do not just delay while you still are not going to be able to give a proper answer. Rather upfront, cut it there to indicate that I do not have an answer at this point in time, and make that a promise in terms of going to find out, and that you will be able to bring it at a later stage. So it's very good techniques. The deep breathing is my favorite one. I do know that it also catches the attention, that when you take a deep breath and people can see you, even when you are like in the audience or in the stage, and people realize that it catches their attention as well, because then they can then say, okay, he is getting ready to go and speak, and they are waiting for you to then speak. So taking that deep breath is a way of also attracting the attention of your audience, that they will then know that you're getting ready to speak, and they then also prepare themselves to get to listen to what you will be saying. So yes, it was a very interesting discussion for me, and thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you to the colleagues. I think I'm learning a lot from the inputs that have been given. Thank you, Coach Zimmer.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Got a comment here from Ndatara Mutla. Said outlining the situation might be a repetition of the debate, but in summarized way. So thanks, Ndatara Mutla. Yeah, thank you, colleague. We've stretched a little bit long, and I hope it's been very beneficial to our listeners. And let me remind you that we're back on Monday again with the Monday series, and then followed by Tuesday series. And we will be looking at unit number 16, conduct 11. Again, back to the topic of listening actively and generatively. And as I mentioned yesterday, we are going to be bringing the principles of Lekgotla to just deepen our ability to listen actively and generatively. Yes, about cultivating the skill of active and generative listening, critical for effective communication. And we are mapping it with our academy course titled Attention Management. So I'm sure from there we will get quite some snippets, some nuggets that can actually help us improve our listening skill. This is always going to be relevant throughout, because without listening, there's just no way we can engage progressively with one another. Thank you so much. That was Kamaza Radio Worldwide. The mind, the journey, the destiny. Apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain. We develop and educate. We empower and support. We associate and network. That's the idea. Thank you, colleagues. You take care and enjoy the election voting tomorrow. Wherever you'll be voting, I hope everything goes well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.